Alright, let's dive into something that's been buzzing in the entertainment world lately: Starz' recent financial update. Now, at first glance, you might think, oh, revenue dip, widened loss, what's the big deal? But personally, I think there's a much bigger story here. What makes this really interesting is how Starz is positioning itself in the middle of a massive industry shift. It's not just about numbers, it's about strategy, and from my perspective, Starz is playing the long game. Here's the deal: Starz reported a slight revenue dip in the first quarter, with overall revenues hitting $307.9 million, down from $319.7 million the previous year. But here's where it gets fascinating: their OTT streaming revenue stayed pretty much the same at $221.3 million, while their linear TV revenue took a hit, dropping to $86.6 million. If you take a step back and think about it, this isn't just a random fluctuation. It's a clear sign of the times. Linear TV is on the decline, and streaming is where the action is. What this really suggests is that Starz is doubling down on its digital-led strategy, even if it means taking a short-term hit. Now, let's talk about that widened net loss of $189.4 million. On the surface, it looks bad, right? But what many people don't realize is that a big chunk of that loss, $147 million, came from one-off restructuring costs. Starz ended its film output deal with Universal Pictures earlier this year, and that's a costly move. But here's the thing: cleaning up the balance sheet now could set them up for a much stronger future. In my opinion, this is less about financial trouble and more about strategic realignment. It's like ripping off a band-aid, painful in the moment, but necessary for healing. What's even more intriguing is Starz' focus on developing its own IP in-house. Since separating from Lionsgate, they've been leaning into their existing universes, like Power and Outlander, to create new series. This quarter, they highlighted shows like Fightland and the finale of Outlander, which apparently drove the second highest audience engagement quarter of all time. One thing that immediately stands out is how Starz is leveraging its existing fanbases to build momentum. It's a smart move, especially when you consider how expensive it can be to acquire new viewers in the crowded streaming market. But here's where it gets really speculative: Starz is betting big on its upcoming slate, including the return of P-Valley, Blood of My Blood from the Outlander universe, and Antoine Fuqa's Michael biopic. If you ask me, this lineup feels like a calculated risk. They're not just throwing money at big names, they're strategically expanding their content library to appeal to diverse audiences. What this really suggests is that Starz is trying to carve out a unique niche in a market dominated by giants like Netflix and Disney+. Now, let's talk about the bigger picture. Starz CFO, Scott McDonald, mentioned that they're confident in their trajectory, with a focus on growing OTT revenue, expanding margins, and reducing leverage. They even raised their adjusted OIBDA guidance to mid-single digits. This raises a deeper question: can Starz really compete in the long run? Personally, I think their success will hinge on how well they can balance cost-effective content creation with audience retention. It's not just about making shows, it's about making shows that keep people subscribed. A detail I find fascinating is how Starz is positioning itself as a premium cabler in the streaming era. Traditionally, premium cable meant HBO-level budgets and prestige. But Starz is taking a different approach, focusing on lower per-episode costs while still delivering engaging content. From my perspective, this could be a game-changer if they can maintain quality without breaking the bank. It's a fine line to walk, but if they pull it off, they could redefine what premium means in the streaming age. So, what's the takeaway here? In my opinion, Starz' current financial situation isn't a sign of failure, it's a sign of transformation. They're shedding the old to embrace the new, even if it means taking a few hits along the way. The real question is whether their digital-led strategy will pay off in the long run. Personally, I'm cautiously optimistic. They've got the right ideas, And if they execute well, they could emerge as a strong contender in the streaming wars. But only time will tell. What do you think? Is Starz on the right track, or are they just another player in a crowded field? Let me know in the comments below.